How do you propose lowering the deficit? This is from Susan Jones.
That's a great question. The only way for us to lower the deficit is to balance the budget and make sure we fix, or not fix, but make sure we do something about our national security. And there's a reason for that. And let me make sure I put it in layman's tongue so you can understand. By balancing the budget, we will increase confidence in our country again. The problem with our budget currently, and the rather large deficit that we have, is that it's based upon projections that are given to the Office of Management and Budget. Those projections are thrown into a little calculator, and based upon those projections of what has been brought in, they give us a calculation of how much debt we're going to be in. Initially, when they passed the health care bill, they really thought there'd be a surplus in 10 years. But the problem is those projections were based upon faulty findings. That's why the Office of Management and Budget now has said, and you notice, this isn't in the news either. They've now said that this health care bill, if in fact it gets appropriated, it's going to cost you almost 3 times where we're at right now. But some of us understood that because there's no way you can give everybody health insurance and the cost not go up. The money's got to come from somewhere. I'd love for any guy in the room to come home to their beautiful wives and say, honey, we're going to buy 3 more houses, but your bill will not go up any higher. I'd like to see how many of you come out of that conversation winning. I guarantee you won't, because somebody wants to know, really, tell me how you're going to do that. Because it's not working. The confidence in our country is in terms of its direction for whatever reason. Its policies, we're struggling right now. In fact, the last statistic came out that there's about 1.74, get this, $1 trillion. Where's Trevor? Trillion, thank you. I need a researcher. $1.74 trillion of money that businesses aren't even spending because they're too scared of what's going to happen in January. Which means they're not hiring, they're not being innovative. Even if they could take a chance, they're not doing it. Think about that. So if they're not hiring, how is unemployment going to go down? Even the Small Business Administration, the ones that give out the loans, they're not even giving out loans. Even if you have perfect credit, you have to struggle to get a loan from the Small Business Administration. We are struggling in so many ways because consumer confidence is down. However, if we are able to balance the budget, not balance the budget and say we only have $1 trillion deficit instead of a $2 trillion one, we have to balance the budget, go back to $0 based budgeting that says what we have is what we'll spend. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Now, you say, where's the money going to come from? We can pick and choose where you want it to come from. Seriously, the spending's been that bad. For example, $4 million or somewhere thereabouts, a little bit more than that, that's a low estimate, of your money went to build a training stadium for the Arizona Diamondbacks in Arizona. Of your dollars. Now, have you been to that stadium? Anybody? Guess what? If you go, you still got to pay a cover charge, but you paid for it. Get this, they tucked it into the stimulus package. You didn't hear that, did you? Research it, Google it, please. I'm begging you. I want you to know what's in my head. They took $2 million of your money, sent it out to the Midwest to track and measure the radioactivity of rabbit feces. And they stuck that in the stimulus package. They took $1.5 million of your money, they sent it up northeast so they could track the sexual activity of college girls. They stuck that in the stimulus package. $717 billion of your money went into a stimulus package with a B. Over $700 billion with a B went into the stimulus. Of that $700 billion that went to stimulate to create jobs, over $300 billion of it went to the federal government. Is anybody hearing me? $300 billion of it went to the federal. Of the $300 billion that went to the federal government, you'll love this. $141 billion of it went to the Department of Education. And we still have to go out and buy pens, pencils, notebook paper for our children to go to school. And our teachers, my wife's a teacher, they still are making $30,000, $35,000 a year. How we can know this information and sit still with this information is beyond me. We have to have conversations like these. So at least we can find out why the money's being spent there. After all, it is our money. And then do something about it. Or we'll always stay stuck in the same condition, in the same rut. We can balance the budget by making hard decisions. We can turn a corner. If we balance the budget, what will happen? Everyday Americans, to include businessmen and women, will believe in our country again. Yes, they'll have more confidence in their leadership. Yes, they'll have more confidence in their country because they'll know what's being done with their dollars. Then they'll start hiring people again. Then unemployment rates go back down. Then unemployment entitlements go back down because more people are working now. And now all of a sudden, you have the same revenues you had 7 or 8 fiscal quarters ago. And instead of being in a deficit, we're now going to show a surplus over 3, 5, and 7 years. Basic economics 101 for me. I believe we can beat this deficit simply by balancing a budget. However, national security is very important, and that means we have to fix the immigration system because 19 of the folks that ran their planes into our World Trade Centers, et cetera, or over in Pennsylvania or into the Pentagon, they were either on expired visas or they were illegal. Many, many millions of Americans do not feel safe. Terrorists have gone on record, and here's what they've said. The last tidbit they said, all we have is time. All we have is time. See, it's not a matter of if, it's only when. And when they flew their birds into the World Trade Center, they could care less what color the people were in that building. They care less what the party affiliation was. They were at war against our way of life as Americans. And while we continue to infuse about who's who and who votes what way inside our own country, people are waging wars against us outside our walls. I'm one of those guys, and I bet you are too, that if your house is on fire, you're not particularly concerned about whether the room is clean. Let's put the fire out. Let's rebuild the house. Then we can discuss whether or not the room needs to be cleaned and by who.